we have coming up locally.
We're hearing, however, that the probability that this death toll will be a lot more devastating is extremely high. So those are some of the pictures coming into us from Japan. They give us an idea of the devastation. And we can go live, I believe, to Japan. Paula Hancock is standing by. Paula, I know you landed only a few hours ago. What did you see when you landed? What are you seeing now around you?
Well, Hala, we've actually landed in Osaka, which is south of Tokyo, and it's not in the worst hit area. And the reason for that is because the airports further north are shut. The Sendai airport, this is believed to be one of the worst hit areas at this point, is completely underwater. Nothing can land there. Some of the nearby airports to there are just open partially for emergency troops to get in. For the troops, 8,000 military troops from the Japanese government has sent up there to try and help the aid organisation, and also those aid agencies trying to fly in emergency goods to those people who desperately need it. But the fact is, it is 1:45 in the morning here, the early hours of the morning. It is very difficult to see how many people will get any kind of help this evening. Now, we know that there have been, according to Kyodo News Agency, about 70 to 80,000 people evacuated from Sendai itself. We understand from the police that they have found about 200 to 300 bodies in Sendai. Now, this is up north. This is in one of the worst hit areas. It's a coastal area, a big city. About 1 million people live there. And certainly some of these pictures that we are seeing are from that nearby neighborhood. So you can see the huge damage that is happening across that area. But the aid agencies are being hampered. The emergency teams are being hampered because airports are shut. Trains have stopped working. Phone lines, in many cases, have stopped working as well. So it really is a very difficult thing for people to actually try and get help to those that need it. And, of course, it's the middle of the night, so that makes things even more difficult.
And Japan is used to earthquakes, but even by Japan's standards, this is a huge, huge tremor. I mean, are they overwhelmed at this point, Paula?
Well, it's very difficult to say. I mean, certainly they have been very used to earthquakes, and in the past they do have a fairly strong opinion of these earthquakes, and they have a strong way of dealing with them. For example, many of the buildings can withstand earthquakes. You saw buildings in Tokyo swaying incredibly, but not collapsing. Now, of course, this was away from the epicenter, but it shows that they are well prepared in many ways. That they also have told all the citizens to have like an emergency kit on standby. They have water and food that can keep them going for a few days at least. But then when you see the footage from up north and you see entire buildings being carried away by the water, I mean, a country can be incredibly well organized and incredibly well prepared, but sometimes when Mother Nature throws something like that at an area, it's just impossible to be able to cope with it. Now, we do understand that the Japanese government has also asked the US military for assistance. There will be assistance coming in from around the region, but at this point the urgency, of course, will be trying to get to those areas that haven't been accessed at this point. And I think as the sun comes up, we are going to see a tremendous amount of damage in those areas, and that's when we're going to get a better sense of just how devastating the earthquake and the tsunami have been.
All right, it's 10 minutes to 3 a.m. in Japan, and as Paula Hancock, who's in Osaka, thanks very much, Paula, mentioned, it is still nighttime. Mm-hmm. It is really a question of when the sun rises, the extent of the devastation and the damage that we're going to be able to see.
I think right now we want to go to Matthew Chance joining us in Moscow. He's keeping an eye on, there are nuclear reactors in Japan that have been shut down, and keeping an eye on that threat there. What do you know, Matthew?
Well, there are 4 nuclear reactors, in fact, that, according to the UN's nuclear watchdog agency, the IAEA, have been successfully shut down as a result of the earthquake off the northeastern coast of Japan. That means that they've essentially been made safe from a kind of Chernobyl-style nuclear meltdown. There's been some damage sustained to a number of them. A fire has been extinguished at one. There's a concern still centering around a reactor at Fukushima Daiichi, where apparently it's been shut down, but the cooling system necessary to keep the nuclear fuel in the core of the reactor cool has broken down. And so the IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog agency, is saying they're seeking further clarification on what's being done about that by the Japanese authorities. The Japanese say so far there's been no radiation leak, and of course they're very aware of the problem and doing whatever they can to make sure the problem doesn't deteriorate in that particular reactor.
And I guess it goes without saying, Matthew, and I'm sure communication out of there is spotty at the moment, but how long these nuclear reactors will be down, all of the precautions that have to be taken to make sure of their safety and security before they put them back online.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult question to decide, even if these nuclear reactors have been damaged so much that they can't be repaired. I mean, perhaps they've been, severely compromised by this earthquake and won't be safe to operate anymore. Certainly what we know is that the vast majority of the reactors in the earthquake zone that were subject to the tremors, they seem to have behaved exactly as they were meant to behave in situations like this. They've, of course, been built relatively recently. They were designed to withstand possibly very large-scale earthquakes like this one, and according to the experts that we've spoken to, they seem to have behaved pretty well and pretty predictably, and so that's the good news. The bad news is there is this one reactor where there are still concerns.
Yep. All right, Matthew Chance, thanks very much. Here's we have our producers, full disclosure, telling us NHK, and the reason for that is because the Japanese broadcaster was showing some dramatic footage. We're seeing there some parts of, I suppose, the affected area on fire, but we were also seeing some very dramatic pictures of flooding, of water damage caused by that massive tsunami.
We're seeing it as you see it. It's coming in raw. We're trying to get it to you as quickly as possible.
Not sure what that is. That must be a coastal sort of map of the coast.
Some kind of diagram showing what they're dealing with. We'll continue to monitor this, obviously, and continue our breaking news coverage as this continues to unfold. Just look at those pictures.
A song by Paul Beckman, Holly Rainbow Song. Created March 11th, 2011. Using guitar chords. G&A. So what's happening here is I'm Paul Beckman, Paul Rainbow Song. I often sing songs. I like watching the news. I like watching the soaps like Days of Our Lives and Young and Restless, and I sing songs to what's going on. I might create 25 to 50 songs per hour while I watch Days of Our Lives of Young and Restless and make songs about that. Well, lately I've been making songs about the revolutions going on in the Arab lands. Right now it's Libya. And then this morning I turned on the TV, the news, and there's all this coverage on the earthquake that hit Japan around 2:46 a.m. or so there, or here somewhere. Anyway, and to watch one of those video clips of an 8-foot wall or more, or 13-foot wall, something like that, of water rushing in and then taking everything back out with it was just amazing. So I'm making songs of compassion for the people who are undergoing that ordeal, that catastrophe, and songs of compassion for those who have lost their lives as well. This next song is going to be using guitar chords G&A, as I said, by Paul Beckman, Paul Rainbow Song, created March 11th, 2011. Here we go. Songs of compassion going out from my heart to the people of the world. People living in Japan near the earthquake epicenter. center. Compassion going out and salutations to those who have died. They don't know all the statistics yet, and I understand why. The death toll probably won't be known for some time to come. And those missing and their loved ones, well now, salutations of compassion going out across the world for anyone caught in those earthquake centers and tsunami whirling water coming at you like a wall of stone, dragging everyone and everything, things out like toy boats. Well now, it's heading towards Hawaii now. We're going to see what happens there. And it says, they say it's coming to the west now. People are making preparations, evacuating for higher ground. It's a coming, coming, coming. It's a wall of water and foam. Nothing to be, nothing to be underestimated. No, 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 no. Don't underestimate it. It's a catastrophe. I hope the death toll won't be as high as some might expect it might get. And for anyone who has lost their life or become dead, my heart goes out to your family.